So we talked about maybe like doing comparison with between maybe like two numbers. So what happens if we now have three numbers? So we have A, then int B, and then maybe like int C. So the same thing would actually be the result, because let's say let's have maybe like store it with let's just use the result. So then of course this is an integer, because you're going to input in maybe like just three integers. If you need to use float values, then you can use of course the doubles. So into result, then we're going to check again using the if condition. So, and then of course remember that we are now going to net some comparison operators inside here. So we're going to say if A is greater than B, of course, and A is greater than C, then we're going to see we're going to set the result. So the result will now be A. Then we are going to do else if another, and we are going to nest out the if else if statement. So else if B is greater than A and B is greater than C, then we can now set our result to now maybe like B, because we have checked. Else we don't need to check for the other condition, because by default if the two numbers are not the largest, then of course by default now C would be the largest. So that's very simple. So we can now maybe like just return. Make sure you always return. So return maybe the result. So inside our function, the main one, so we're going to now call we are now going to call this function here. So just going to make sure that I'm on the right track by copying and pasting it here. So if I now pass in maybe 2 and 5, then maybe like I want to see out. So maybe like let me just add a statement here. So the largest is, then of the largest the function inside here. So if I now run my code, it complains too few arguments, because we are now passing in 3 parameters, unlike the other one where we are passing in two parameters. So let's say I have other numbers like 10, like 20. So we expect that now from our code 20 will be printed out, because it's now the largest. So the largest number is 20. So let's say again we have maybe like 12 and we have now 50. So I think the 50 is largest. So let's see. So the number is largest one is 50. So this is actually like the way you implement different functions. So we can maybe like again see out, maybe like largest, and then pass in between 10, 20, and 6. So we can again reuse the same line. So I'm going to say just in a new line, so to make sure that things work fine. So I'm going to run it again. So for the first case, the largest is 50, and then the largest one is 20 here. So we have this. So that's see out, the largest now is 20, and then here the largest is 50. So let's try one that uses the strings. So I remember we used cases a case where we had to switch between the number of days. So what we do here is we're going to switch between this. So we are going to maybe like int day. So we're going to switch here. So we're going to say switch. What are we trying to switch? So we are switching the day number here. Then so maybe like case 1. Then we can now set our day. So we can now have here a string. So string day. So we can now, for the first case, we can now set our string to maybe like Monday. Then for the second case, so case 2, then we're going to give our string, we now take in a new value of Tuesday. So we can continue that way until the default state, so where we have our string, then assign it like no such day in the week. So once we've reached the default, we have again to return to our function. We have to return something. So we are returning now the day. So remember the day, what we are returning here is a string. So we have to say now string. So otherwise, if we leave this to an integer, the compiler would complain. because if you now come this place and say now see out, if you now see out, so let's call this one day of the week. I'm just going to copy that and then paste it here. So maybe like, let's say today is, then we pass in the function here. So if you now say that we are passing in for Monday, case 1, and we run it, you see now that we have actually like a complaint, a declaration of a string day. So if you now do this, so like string day, so then we will now run this, we now have we are using actually like the same, so let's say int day week. So if you now return day week, then we run it, so we expect now that our string, oh goodness, so we are supposed to actually like copy this, not actually like the string, but you assign the value. So if we run that, you find that now, okay, so run, there is no such day of the week. This is because we forgot something, so we forgot to break here. So if you now break, then you also have to break on all sides. So remember that the default one doesn't like take in the break one. So if you now run the code, so for case 1, we expect that today should actually be Monday. Now if you now try inputting invalid number, so let's say the number is invalid, so let's say now let's put in a number like let's say 7, of which it's not covered in this. So if you run this, so by default it will return there is no such day of the week.